Republican majority has scheduled stunt votes on supposed COVID relief bills that are all in reality designed to fail. Yesterday, the leader moved to table his own bill so Republicans could vote against tabling it. Let me repeat that, because that's what's happening here. It's hard to believe that this is supposedly the greatest debate chamber in the country or in the world. Leader McConnell moved to table his own bill so Republicans could then vote against tabling it. That's what the Republican majority thinks passes for a serious attempt at COVID relief bill in this Republican Senate when people are suffering so badly. Games when people are suffering. The truth is, the Republican leader needed that vote to fail, because if the Senate actually proceeded to a real bill, it might mess up the timing of the Republican plan to confirm Judge Barrett to the Supreme Court. Now think of that for a moment. The Republican majority sets up a fake vote on COVID relief because if, God forbid, the Senate actually considered a real bill to do something real about this overwhelming COVID crisis, it might delay their Supreme Court nominee that they are rushing through in a process that can only be declared as abusive to the Senate. That's all the American people need to know about priorities on the other side of the aisle. Rush a nominee through whose views are way to the right of the American people and ignore, avoid, play games with getting COVID relief, which is the #1 thing the American people want, not a Supreme Court nominee who is so far away from their views. While the country is hurting, while millions of Americans are sick and dying, while workers lose their jobs, businesses close their doors, Republican senators are playing political stunts with vitally needed economic relief. And the games continue today. Once again, the Republican majority will bring up a bill designed to fail, their partisan, emaciated COVID relief bill, so-called COVID relief bill. The bill we're voting on today has already failed in the Senate, didn't get a Democratic vote, and we already know it lacks the votes. And why? Because it leaves so many Americans behind. Renters and homeowners are left behind. There's no relief for them. Americans who've lost jobs through no fault of their own are left behind. Americans who rely on critical public service by their state and local governments are left behind. Small businesses in communities of color and in some of the hardest hit industries, our restaurants, our concert venues, theaters, nonprofits, local news, receive no dedicated assistance. The Republican proposal on COVID doesn't even devote enough resources to testing and tracing, despite a spike in cases and the harrowing prospect of a second wave of the virus sweeping across America. It's laden with poison pills that our Republican colleagues know Democrats would never support. That's not a real attempt to legislate and get something done. What's in there? A giant corporate immunity provision to shield corporations from liability if they put their workers in dangerous COVID-related situations. A tax provision to benefit wealthy families who send their kids to private schools while shortchanging middle-class families in public schools. There's no reason for our Republicans' colleagues to insist on a corporate liability shield and a provision to injure public schools in a COVID relief bill. No reason. They know it's objectionable. They know it's partisan. They know it's an anchor around the minimal bill they have, enough to sink it. There's no reason to include these poison pills in legislation that they know needs bipartisan support to pass, because 20 Republicans have said they don't want to vote for any money. So they know they need Democrats, but they put things in the bill that they know Democrats will oppose and lead to the bill's demise. This minimal bill. So what's the logic here? Well, there is a perverse logic if the Republican leader wants to make sure that the bill fails. And that's sure what it looks like. It's clear why Leader McConnell is forced to do these stunts. A good portion of his caucus opposes more relief to the American people. Yesterday, the Republican whip, the member in charge of counting Republican votes, said, quote, "I think we're going to have a hard time finding 13 Republican votes for anything." 13 out of 52, 53. One Republican member proudly vowed, quote, "not to vote for another dime." People are being kicked out of their homes. Children are starving. There's no testing and tracing that meets the needs. Schools can't open. And not another dime. Let America suffer. So our right-wing ideology, saying that we shouldn't make well-to-do people pay taxes, that's what their last tax cut bill did, can prevail over the needs of America and the American people. So it's not Democrats who are blocking a real relief bill. We know that. Everyone knows that. Speaker Pelosi is still trying her best with the White House to get a deal. We've already offered to meet Republicans halfway. The biggest obstacle to another relief bill from the very beginning has been Senate Republicans and Leader McConnell. And as if we needed any more proof, it was pretty obvious before. It was reported in multiple news outlets, confirmed by 4 senators who were at the meeting, that Leader McConnell warned the White House against making another deal on another stimulus bill before the election. Let me repeat that. Leader McConnell, while he was coming to the floor and railing against Democratic obstruction, was behind the scenes warning the White House against striking a bipartisan deal on COVID relief. Who does he think he can fool? Not the American people. Ask them. They know who's to blame. They know Democrats and up and down the line are for relief, and Republicans are opposing it. And I'll tell you one thing. The American people are sick and tired of these political stunts. They're sick and tired of politicians who would rather have it appear that they are working than do actual work. This shouldn't be so hard. We all know how to pass bills in the Senate with bipartisan buy-in and bipartisan support. We did it in the CARES bill back in March. But ever since that bill passed, this Senate Republican majority has gone totally partisan every step of the way, even on an issue as important to the country as relief from this evil pandemic. Now on the Supreme Court. The Republican leader has announced that the Senate will vote on Judge Amy Coney Barrett to be a Supreme Court justice next Monday, capping what will be the most rushed, most partisan, and least legitimate process in the entire history of Supreme Court nominations. Leader McConnell continues to defile the Senate more than any other senator has done in a very long time. Let us hope that Leader McConnell hasn't ruined the Senate for good with this nasty 180-degree turn, holding up Merrick Garland and rushing this judge through while people are online at the polling places. The idea, let's wait for the next election, was total hypocrisy. Total hypocrisy. The United States Senate has never considered a Supreme Court justice this close to a national presidential election. I doubt it ever will again. I don't think we'll ever have the combination of Donald Trump and Leader McConnell, who so don't care about what they said in the past, McConnell anyway, who so don't care about trying to pick a justice who will look at the law as opposed to ideological views. Hope so. Hope it doesn't happen again. Pray it doesn't happen again. Just 4 years ago, we all know, the Republican leader, the former chairman of the Judiciary Committee, the current chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and nearly every single Republican member argued that President Obama's nominee didn't deserve a hearing or a vote on the floor of the Senate because there was a national election 8 months away. Mere hours after the passing of Justice Scalia, Leader McConnell said the American people deserve a voice in the selection of their next Supreme Court justice. Not if one party or another party controlled the presidency or the Senate. Absolute. The American people deserve a voice. That was 8 months from an election. Leader McConnell confirmed yesterday that the vote to confirm President Trump's nominee to the Supreme Court will take place 8 days before an election. Senate Republicans could wait 8 months to give the American people a voice in selecting a Supreme Court justice. Now they can't wait 8 days? I am sure that if they had to, the Republican majority would confirm a Supreme Court justice 8 minutes before Election Day. Is it no wonder that Democrats are so angry? Is it no wonder that the American people are tearing their hair out when they have said they want to wait till the next election, when that's only fair, that's only democratic, small d? The hypocrisy is towering and enormous. And as I said, Leader McConnell could destroy this chamber for a very long time. Why is this happening? Well, this is part of a decade-long effort to shift the courts to the far right, so that the far right, which has so many Republicans in their grasp, can accomplish through the judiciary what they could never accomplish through the Congress. Senate Republicans failed to repeal the Affordable Care Act. We know that happened right here. So President Trump and Republicans' Attorney General are suing to eliminate the law in court. Senate Republicans don't dare put repeal of Roe v. Wade on the floor of the Senate. They know it would fail. But they try to appoint justices who are dedicated to repealing that vital right of a woman to choose and to control her own body. This is just an amazing moment. One of Coney Barrett's very first cases would be to hear arguments against the Affordable Care Act, the very act that this chamber rejected repeal of. Republicans, as I said, could never repeal a woman's right to choose in Congress. They don't even dare bring it to the floor. The far right has never had a majority on the court to limit Roe or Griswold, but if Judge Barrett becomes Justice Barrett, it very well might. Women of America, watch out. Watch out. I'll remind my colleagues and the American people, when President Trump was asked about Roe v. Wade during his final debate against Hillary Clinton, he said, quote, "If we put another 2 or 3 justices on the court, the repeal of Roe v. Wade will happen automatically." Is that what this Republican majority stands for? If they do, announce it to the American people. Don't hide behind this idea that justices are calling balls and strikes, that they will obey precedent. Don't hide behind that, because we know what's happening here. The American people should make no mistake. Their fundamental rights are on the line. The right to affordable health care, to make their own medical decisions, to join a union, vote without impediments, the right to marry who they love. That's what this is all about. Now, Leader McConnell has strained credulity to argue that ramming a Supreme Court justice through the Senate while American voters wait in line to cast their ballots is completely normal. Nothing to see here, he says. Who believes him? I don't think a single Republican on that side believes him. But they know what's going on. This is not the Senate, as he says, performing its historic function. This is a fiction. There is no precedent in history for the Senate for what the Republicans are doing. Abraham Lincoln, our great hero, great Republican, rejected nominating somebody for the Supreme Court so close to an election. So Republicans, at the very least, ought to go on record and admit this is an extraordinary breach of precedent, of comity, of fairness, of decency, of honor, of truth, of consistency. So in a short time, I will make a point of order that the Senate should not consider a nomination to the Supreme Court this close to a presidential election. Every senator will vote on whether a nomination this close to an election shall be in order. It will confirm to the American people what we all know to be true, that the Republican majority has absolutely no intention of honoring the supposed principle it so vehemently argued in 2016. That they won't follow history, that they won't follow precedent, that they won't follow norms and traditions of the Senate, that they won't even follow their own standards. That is the indelible mark on this Senate majority. That here in Leader McConnell's Senate, it's the rule of because we can, might makes right. Because we can, as Senator Whitehouse put it. All to confirm a far-right justice on the court who would rip away health care from tens of millions of Americans in the middle of a pandemic. We'll see how my Republican colleagues vote. I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
Senator from South Dakota.